Yo, 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 it's ODB, our lifestyle podcast, aka OLP. Thank you guys for rocking with us. If you found us here on YouTube, checking out some old school memories, look us up via your favorite podcast app. If you've never listened to a podcast before, you're missing out. There's a podcast for pretty much any type of subject out there. If you're on an iPhone, go to the pre-installed podcast app and search OLP. It's that simple. Other platforms typically will allow you to search OLP, but oftentimes, depending on the platform, you might have to search our lifestyle podcast. We are a mini trucking inspired podcast. We cover 80s, 90s, a little bit of hip hop, and so much more. We've even had Bill Allen on from the famed cult classic 1986 movie Rad, which is one of my favorite movies growing up. We hit a little bit on BMX, old school BMX, as well as skateboarding from time to time. But primarily mini trucks, hip hop, you name it. This is the first issue of Mini Truckin'. So I wanted to spend some time going through this one. And before we do that, oftentimes we hear Mini Truckin's gone. Man, I missed this magazine. Yes, it was around a long time, 269 issues, but fear not, All Time Low magazine is keeping print alive. You can go to atlmagazine.com, which is short for All Time Low, and you can purchase individual issues like this issue 26, or you could subscribe. It's a bi-monthly publication. They recently went to a new binding, so no more staples, and it is packed, jam-packed, front to back. Again, individual issues available, or subscribe. So, issue number 1, it took me a while. I knew I would end up getting this one. I was hopeful. And as I mentioned in some of these, a lot of my collection came from a guy named Jim. And Jim is from Mini Madness. He's a great guy. He did let me know that he had this issue. It was the only one that he planned to keep. And he said when the time was right, he would let it go. And the time was right this year. I thank him very, very much. All of my early collection, for the most part, I'd say 98% of the early collection came from Jim, and pretty much every issue is pristine. This one has a little bit more wear to it. Basically, just so you guys know, Volume 1, Summer of 88, essentially, the way I understand it, Steve Stillwell and crew saw the rise, if you will, as we say on the rise of mini trucking, kind of the culture out there on the West. And Mini Truckin' was spun off as what they call a Truckin Magazine Special. So you can imagine back in these early print days, they essentially said, you know what, wow, we're seeing all these mini trucks. Why don't we do a one-off issue and see how it does? Well, apparently it did well enough for them to launch it into a quarterly magazine starting in '89, and the rest is history. It went on to be bi-monthly, and then most notably a monthly publication for many, many years. Now, I started originally going through these with issue 3 because I did not have issue 1, nor did I have issue 2. The only issue that I still need to pick up is issue 2, but this one I've kind of sat on a little while before I started this flip through. So again, 1988. You have kind of the significance of the original Mini Truckin' logo. You have a Nissan hardbody on the cover with a model and a blazer and then the mid-shoe. Okay, so let's go through this now. I've only looked through this one a couple of times, and I really only plan on going back through it maybe one more time, if that. You can imagine it's really rare, and it'll end up getting framed, and it will go with the rest of the collection. So we know McMullen Publishing, aka Tom McMullen, was the publisher, and then you have Steve Stillwell, of course. Doug Culp was the staff feature editor, and you see some of the rest of the names there. So again, the significance and really why I started these is I've met a good amount of people that have every issue, and that is great. It's a cool accomplishment, but it's like, okay, well, what if they're sitting in a closet? It's like, hey, let's share these with with everyone else. So you have Doug Culp shot this cover. He shot 4 total, And I've kind of talked a little bit about that in the other flip through videos. So again, it's our kind of way to give back and to share with everyone. You have the editorial by Steve Stillwell. Before you start tossing this magazine around and stuffing it into the family magazine rack, I'd like to point out that it will soon be a lot more valuable than what you paid for it. This is the very first issue of Mini Truckin' with more to follow. So Steve with a little bit of the Nostradamus there, right? And that it did. It went up in value for sure. So you see Mini Market for the first time. Of course, you got Stillin right here, company that was around a long time. We would see a truck with the windshield banner a few years later with Stillin, I believe it is, on the windshield banner, which I don't think I've got to that issue yet in the flip-throughs. You got guest editorial by Kenny Paul. You made your truck bed, now sleep in it. Pretty cool when I look back at these old magazines to think how Ruben Arteaga has helped us so much. We actually had one of the homies that worked at Audio Chamber, including he's in some of the ads. We had him on the podcast, and that's mind-blowing to me that something that started 30 some odd years ago, that we could have so many of the OGs in the scene that were either had built cover trucks or were a part of the scene in some way, form, or fashion. So bed dancing, obviously killer stuff for the day. And it's so awesome to be a part of the mini truck scene right now with such a resurgence in old school builds, people unearthing old school parts and just kind of building the old school flavor. I guess you call it, I'm going to start calling it the Mini Truckin' Midlife Crisis. Crises. Good stuff. But shout out to everybody that continues to listen. We do also, if you're on Android, one of the platforms that you can use is Podbean. Okay, that's who hosts our podcast. You could technically download it on an iPhone, but typically most people use the pre-installed podcast app. And on Android, you can leave a comment. That's cool. I responded to a comment yesterday. And we appreciate that. If you're on an iPhone, please leave a rating. Click on library at the bottom, tap on OLP, and then scroll down to the bottom to leave a rating. So here you go. This one is Miami Rice. And think about this, Chip and Diane Gerber, Springfield, Illinois, an 84 Toyota. One of the first, if not first features, if you will, from a magazine standpoint, from Mini Truckin' Magazine. Pretty cool stuff. You see Doug's name right there. And this was the typical stuff that would run in Truckin'. I mean, this could have easily been a cover truck on Truckin' Magazine. This is a famous ad. I know it's been shared a good bit. I think a recent guest of ours, Georgia, she may have even shared this. I have a nice image saved of that. I haven't shared it, I don't think ever, but I think it captures a really cool time. And the Ford Aerostars were never super popular. I don't think the style, I've only ridden in one, if I remember correctly, but Truckin' Magazine's 87 Ford Aerostar, I'm guessing Ford tried to partner up with them to kind of make that the cool van. We all know Astros and Safaris pretty much kind of ruled for the most part in the mini truck scene. So here you go, GMC, awesome stuff here. Again, very nostalgic of the time period. Orange peeler. So from the back, it almost looks like a full-size truck. But this was the type of stuff that they could easily feature in the magazine, whether it be a tech article or whatnot. Pretty cool stuff. If you've never seen this before, you've got After Madness, Rezo, and it was shot by the Mini Truckin' staff. You see California Jamboree. Mini Truck Beach Madness. And looking back at a lot of the older show coverage, you'll see BMX bikes being jumped into the river, a lot of people hanging out, awesome festivities, tons of club games. It was definitely a different era. Now, not to say that we don't all get together, because we do, but clearly you can see there a different era. So Stoll Industries right there, that is the cover truck. 88 Nissan Corona Cali. And of course there is the Blaza on wires. Look at the value of that. And this to me is awesome. Man, I love those. I don't know if you call them toppers or what. I recently saw a truck that had, it was a full-size truck over at the Orlando Memorial Cruise that had that roll-up kind of military-style looking topper deal. Pretty freaking awesome. The Spotlight really became, if you look back at our flip-throughs, I think it pretty much became Mini Truckin Marquee. I would love to see these kind of topper things come back, man. I don't know what it is, if it's just so rare. But, I mean, imagine having that truck with that little topper on it, you know, if it's nice weather out, and just rolling up all the sides. And, you know, cars ride by with the booming systems, like LL said, right? Trucks ride by with the booming systems. But please give us a thumbs up here. Leave a comment. Let us know if any of this stokes some good memories. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell notification, as you often hear your favorite podcasters, or I mean YouTubers state. California Dreamin'. So check that out. You got the honeys. Got some wood on the center console. Wood. Some leopard. Some pink. What? Hot Wheels. Real deal. Really reminiscent of the times, those wheels do. So pretty cool stuff. The cool thing is you can change your setting to 4K, I think. And you should be able to get the most crystal clear image of this. So if you need to pause it for any reason, it's kind of like doing these kind of raw, uncut videos, because it allows us to get them out quicker, as we've mentioned, if you've never been here before. And the quality isn't too bad if you think about the audio. And just overall, it allows us to get it done. This is a pretty cool ad to me. Quality, durability, strength, style. You got the pre-runner. You got the surfboard. You got the cool sunset. Stockland Company. It's the only time I remember seeing that one. Mission accomplished. So you got the original Mini Truckin logo there. You got the model's name down here on the bottom. And this was Bob McClurg. Now these mini trucks, the style was maybe, you know, obviously before my time. But I, like I said recently in a video on Instagram, you know, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are without these style trucks out of kind of the 70s. The shell game, so talking about, as most of us refer to them as toppers. I do see a lot of people out west that call them camper shells. I'll take that camper shell down. There's a resurgence of these. We joke, our buddy from Low Bros, Jason Diener, he started hashtagging back in the day, or several years back, Topper Gang. So that's kind of picked up, and just a way to kind of curate some of those different posts. Now, this is pretty cool. I recently did a video, I'm trying to remember which issue it was, and I talked about, it was a recent flip through, I think. And C.R. Lawrence, I talked about, that's my favorite mod of all time. This is the Power Light, Power Rear Window. And I've said, please spam C.R. Lawrence. Don't tell him I sent you. Let them know they need to bring back this window, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I love this Power Light window. It's super rare. They stopped making it around 91. And that roll down back window for minis or C10s, they primarily made them for C10s. That was the more popular option. And then they also had them for the 88 to 98. So if you think about 88 to like 90, 91, they're super rare. We need those to come back. I mean, come on. The 3-4 windows down in your truck, well, let's say the back one and the two main ones. If it's a regular cab truck, that's where it's at, y'all. So sport truck racing. I posted a photo maybe a year and a half ago of the arcade. Was it Ivan something? And we all love that arcade. We talked about it on one of the episodes briefly. And man, I brought back some memories for some people. It had the 4 steering wheels. You hit the little nitro deals. I always sucked at that game, but man, it ate up a lot of my money because I loved playing it. Check it out. Something like that, just cruising on a Friday night. That's all you need right now, y'all. So you got color ad here, Mild to Wild. We saw those ads often, typically not in color. You could imagine how much the advertising probably was. They easily could probably charge X amount more for the color ad. So Slamerized. And you see here the 87 Suzuki Samurai. There's a couple of early NWA photos where Ice Cube, I think, is sitting in a Samurai. They were rolling those back in, 86, 87, whatever the particular time period was. This is something that was pretty cool that stayed around a long time with the different back windows, the club logos and whatnot. You got mini truck carb options. So long before fuel injection, many truckers were rocking the carbs. Many still do. Bolt-on handling. Desert Heat. Old school Mini. That grill dough. Kind of cool to see some of that more rare stuff that you just don't see these days. You got the club roll call. So this obviously gave them an opportunity to take up some space in the magazine. Obviously give them some content. But as some of our guests have mentioned, a lot of clubs were probably formed from this, or chapters, I should say. And then, people that got into a chapter maybe didn't like the way a club was going, which led them to create their own club. But a lot of history there. Shell game was continued here. These are super rare. For the trucks, the full-size C10s and whatnot, C30s, there's an ad called Companion Cab, or Cab Companion. So I've hashtagged that some on one of my C30 Addict pages. So you can see this issue, although the cover isn't perfect, it's in really, really good condition. I'm thankful for that. Just to finally have issue number 1. A lot of the Nintendo folks, they collect Nintendo Power. Obviously, they want to know the history. And for me, really just the history of the magazine is what's key for us to kind of understand where we've gone and where we're headed. Let me hit end on this. Okay. So, put my phone on airplane mode, but not my watch. There you have it. Many of you probably have never seen this issue, and I had not ever even flipped through it until I basically obtained it at Slamfest this year. It was the 29th annual. We'll be there next year in October, so big ups to Mini Madness. But thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Big ups to all of our sponsors, including Custom Car Show Productions. They have 4 annual events, including their flagship event, Scrapin' the Coast, which is at the end of June every year in Biloxi, Mississippi. If you've never attended, you got to get out there. It's one of the biggest, baddest shows in the country. Scrapinthecoast.com for more, or search Facebook for Scrapin', that's SCRAPIN, The Coast. ODB, hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Wish you guys all the best. Rest in peace, Sean Mahaney right there. Another issue. ATLmagazine.com. We appreciate y'all. Be out here. Peace. Thanks to Sean Rose for this one.